Lawrence.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lawrence. How are you?
I've never been better. How are you?
Very good, man. Very good.
All right.
Yeah, we're just talking about you just a little while ago, and the success of the adrenal factors and how it's helping you. I just kind of wanted to bump into that real quick before we got into ocular factors. The adrenal factors is a hit.
Oh, I can't thank you enough for bringing that formula to my attention and having me make that. It's literally changed my life and changed the lives of every single person that's tried it. I've given it to everyone I know just to sample, and they all say the same thing. I don't have to ask them later what they thought about it because they come to me and volunteer the information and tell me how much better they feel. And who would have thought something so important would have gone on like this? Has been 25 years that I've been in this business without taking something like this for my personal use or offering it. So it's, I'm really glad you brought it to my attention, and I feel so much better on it. My endurance is incredible. And what can I say? I think it's maybe, if not one of the most important and impressive formulas we've ever made. And it's beautiful because you don't have to wonder whether or not it's working. I felt it within minutes of taking it. I just heard a lady on the other line going through what so many people have gone through with supplements, because a lot of supplements we really don't know if they're working, and we're not going to maybe ever know if they're working. Some of the benefits of taking some of these nutrients come 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. So it's hard to know if you're really benefiting from them. But then there are some other ones that there's no question about it. It's working. Right away, and that's always nice as a consumer to know that you're getting the benefits. And so adrenal factors is one of those. And anyone out there who hasn't tried it yet, I was so excited about it that we made a second label so that there'd be a 30 capsule size available at a quarter of the price, because it wasn't inexpensive. I was actually surprised, that there was no way to make that formula at a low cost. So we came out with a 30 count, so at least for a quarter of the price, somebody can at least try it before they invest in a large bottle.
Well, it's still cheaper than the other adrenal formulas on the market comparably.
That's hilarious, because none of them come even close in terms of the raw material cost. And that happens consistently across the board with all of our formulas, especially the one that we're talking about today, which is ocular factors. Like all of our formulas, they're all pharmaceutical grade. They're all put in pharmaceutical grade capsules. There are still companies using tablets. They're doing that to save money. They know that they're reducing the purity and the effectiveness, potentially the effectiveness of their products, because there has never been any legislation enforcing that tablets break down. These are considered foods by the FDA. They're not drugs. Drugs legally have to break down in a certain amount of time, or somebody, their life could be depending on these drugs. But nutritional supplements, there's no legislation enforcing that a tablet break down. So it could break down in your lower GI tract. It could break down in the sewer system. There's no way of knowing when it's going to break down. Whereas a gelatin capsule, which is much more expensive, that's the only reason they use tablets, it's cheaper. Pharmaceutical grade capsule dissolves in about 30 seconds. And that fine powder, you don't have to use all the additives, so it's much more pure, it's much more soluble, goes into solution quickly and gets absorbed into the bloodstream. So there's still companies that are using tablets. We only use capsules. We also, most companies use plastic bottles. They're not good barriers relative to glass. We use amber glass bottles, which are a much better barrier to light, oxygen, moisture. All of these elements reduce the potency of nutritional supplements over time. And ocular factors and all of our formulas are made in the USA. And we're going to talk about this special formula that has optimal levels of all the most important carotenoids. And the most important carotenoids for eye function, and here they are in optimum levels: 10,000 units of natural beta-carotene. And what we've talked about a few times before is that most companies don't use natural beta-carotene. They use synthetic beta-carotene, which is a few $100s a kilo. Natural beta-carotene right now costs us about $2,500 a kilo. So it isn't, 50% more. It's, literally 10 times more. And we've never, like we talked about, we've never seen anyone put on a nutritional supplement label beta-carotene and then in parentheses synthetic, derived from petroleum. Nobody puts that on a product, yet that's what the majority of them do. So as consumers, we can't expect to look for that. No one's going to write that. But you can look for somebody to put natural, which is going to be very rare, which is what ours says. And if it doesn't, then you can figure, well, it's probably synthetic. It's 1/10 the price. And so we put in 10,000 units of natural beta-carotene. This is per serving. We use 20 milligrams of natural lutein. That's free lutein, not ester. 4 milligrams of astaxanthin and 4 milligrams of zeaxanthin. And these are the 4 most important carotenoids in their full doses most people would consider to be optimal doses. And they're all natural, and they're all in a beadlet form. And we have to do that because carotenoids or we don't have to do that. Most companies don't do that, but we choose to do that because carotenoids are so delicate. And a good example is if you take a conventional carotenoid powder, any of those that I just named, and you put them out on your countertop for a few weeks, if you come back, you'll see the color is faded, and if you test it, you'll find the potency is faded. So the best way to keep these carotenoids stable is to produce them in a beadlet form. So the individual particles containing carotenoids are coated and then spray dried. They're microencapsulated beadlets, and that's the most effective way of stabilizing these delicate carotenoids. So from a distance, it looks like a powder, but as you get closer, you can see they're actually tiny little spheres, tiny hard little balls that have those delicate carotenoid powders protected inside. But it's a much more expensive process, and most companies are not going to do that. But that, in my opinion, is the only way to buy any of these carotenoids because they're not stable otherwise. So what are they? Carotenoids. They're yellow pigments found in the leaves of green vegetables, carrots, sweet potatoes, and spinach. The photoreceptor cell function of the retina requires carotenoids. Our blood contains the following carotenoids: beta-carotene, lutein, zeaxanthin, and lycopene. And here's the formula. Astaxanthin, 4 milligrams. It's the single most expensive nutritional supplement in our industry. We pay our cost for the type of astaxanthin I was describing, which is natural versus synthetic and beadlet versus powder. Just making those two decisions drives the cost of the roof. It's about $30,000 a kilo for the active astaxanthin. That's our cost. Natural is about double the price and all we've ever used. There is a liquid source of astaxanthin, an oil source. It costs less, but the dry form is more stable, especially when it's in a beadlet form. Mm-hmm. So many suppliers will offer the powder at a much lower price, but I haven't found any that are stable. So what is it? What's astaxanthin? We've seen that word that's hard to describe. It's a natural protective antioxidant carotenoid. So what is it? It's a dark red pigment that's the main carotenoid found in algae and aquatic animals. It's the pigment that makes salmon and flamingos pink, and they eat so much pink algae that they become pink themselves, and that's one of the reasons we don't want to eat farm-raised salmon. They're not fed that natural algae diet, and as a result, they're not pink. They're fed chicken byproducts, cornmeal, soy, GMO canola oil, and they're given antibiotics at a higher level than any other livestock. And they have to be given beta-carotene so that they're pink. And of course, just like if human supplement suppliers are going to give people synthetic beta-carotene, what are they going to give these salmon? Of course, they're not going to pay 10 times as much. They're going to give them petroleum-based synthetic beta-carotene. But unlike synthetic beta-carotene, synthetic astaxanthin is still very expensive. You would think, well, why don't they just give them synthetic astaxanthin? It's too expensive. So they don't even give them synthetic astaxanthin. They give them synthetic beta-carotene because it will still turn them pinkish. I don't eat meat much, but when I do, it's never farm-raised salmon. If I eat fish, it's going to be wild-caught. Here are some examples, though. If you want to get full 4 milligrams, the full 4 milligrams of astaxanthin, which is the amount that we use per serving, if you want to get that from salmon, you can. Depends on the species, but it'll vary anywhere from a quarter pound to almost 2 pounds. So sockeye salmon, which is that really super deep red salmon, That has the highest level. That you can eat a quarter pound and get it. And all the way to pink or Atlantic salmon, which is that really light-colored salmon, you would need to eat 2 pounds of that to get the amount of astaxanthin in one serving of ocular factors. And it is an extremely powerful antioxidant. And it has the unique capacity to quench free radical and reactive species of oxygen and to inhibit lipid peroxidation, which we spoke about last week, or the week before rather. Studies have shown that astaxanthin can be over 500 times stronger than vitamin E and much more potent than other carotenoids like lutein and lycopene and beta-carotene. Astaxanthin was found to have beneficial effects in many health conditions related to the central nervous system, skin health, joint health, muscle endurance, as well as the cardiovascular, immune, eye, and other systems. And the FDA has actually allowed us to make some claims for astaxanthin. You want to hear those?
Yeah, and if I could too, let me just throw this in real quick. The krill oil that people are taking so they can get that astaxanthin through is usually less than 1/10 of 1 milligram per dosage. It's usually it's usually in the form of 40 to 80 micrograms per dose, which is there's 1,000 micrograms in 1 milligram, so it's almost not even in there at all. It's such a slight amount. I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did, because the public, this is how manufacturers trick the public. They hear about these wonderful nutrients like astaxanthin. They hear about how expensive they are, and so manufacturers will just dupe the public by putting a tiny token amount in, and right there's going to be a certain amount of the consuming public that has only heard of astaxanthin, but they don't know that they need 4 milligrams. So they're going to catch all those people by giving them, a hundredth of the optimal level. So, but I was surprised to find that the FDA is starting to allow a lot of health claims for astaxanthin, and here they are. This is the government allowing this. It supports a healthy immune system, supports eye health, supports joint health, supports connective tissue health, supports skin health, cardiovascular health, neurological health, healthy digestive system, muscle function, supports muscle recovery after exercise, helps maintain healthy cellular membrane after the exposure to UV light, and it helps to maintain a normal oxidant to antioxidant balance. And astaxanthin is one of those key nutrients that's been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier and the blood-retina barrier, meaning it can positively impact disorders relative to the brain, related to the brain and the central nervous system. Research has been going on, research has been done regarding the way it supports our eyes as we encounter fatigue from looking at a computer screen for hours. It's not only associated with eye function, but heart health as well. There's so much information just on this one ingredient. Animal studies show it can pass the blood-brain barrier, so it can deposit in our retinas. It can also support the nervous system and brain. And it's very expensive. As I mentioned, most companies will offer 60 servings of 4 milligrams for around $25. So that large bottle that you have is a 2-month supply. That's 60 servings. It's, I would guess, under $150. Well, this one ingredient alone is $25, and there's about 10 in that formula. And of course, our astaxanthin is always HPLC tested. So the next key ingredient is lutein, and note that lutein is not made by the body, so we have to eat it or we have to get it in a supplement. Lutein and zeaxanthin protect our eyes. It's most highly concentrated in the lens and the macular region of the retina. There's a yellow spot in the back of the eye, in the back of the retina. It's called the macular region. It's yellow because of lutein and zeaxanthin. Lutein and zeaxanthin are there to absorb and block blue and ultraviolet light, which saves important pigments from damage, as well as other oxidative damage, the damaging forms of light to the retina and eyes in general. They act as an optical filter. Lutein is a potent antioxidant, and has been shown to be associated with a reduced risk of both macular degeneration and cataracts. I was surprised to find that many suppliers claim to have natural lutein, but in fact it's synthetic. I was also surprised to find out that much of the lutein is UV tested and not HPLC tested. They primarily use the UV method in Europe, but HPLC is much more accurate. And as a result, they're usually much lower when you test them by HPLC. For example, if you have some report that says it's been tested by UV and it tests out at 5% lutein, well, when you test it by HPLC, it comes out at 3%, which is the real figure, not 5%. But the good news is on lutein is that if you eat a good amount of greens, you probably can get a good amount of lutein in your diet. So it's one of the few key nutrients that you can get that in your diet as long as you eat plenty of greens every day. Zeaxanthin, well, now that was lutein. Zeaxanthin is the next ingredient we put in 4 milligrams and also the most highly concentrated in the lens and macular region of the retina. And this one, zeaxanthin, is almost impossible to get 4 milligrams a day from our diet. So that's one that you really should supplement. We have to eat 5 to 10 cups of very specific vegetables to get 4 milligrams of zeaxanthin. That's probably not going to happen. The next ingredient is beta-carotene. We put in 10,000 units of natural beta-carotene. And beta-carotene, most people are familiar with. It's converted into vitamin A by the body as needed, but it's non-toxic, unlike vitamin A. So taking high levels of vitamin A can be dangerous. Taking high levels of beta-carotene is safe. Vitamin A aids overcoming night blindness. Vitamin A helps extreme dryness of the eyes and aids proper photoreceptor function. And vitamin A in the levels in our formula, plus lutein and zeaxanthin, are vital for all eye disorders. So who needs it? Anyone who's having trouble with their eyes should be taking these carotenoids. The next ingredient is bilberry. Bilberry is a protective antioxidant, and we put in 80 milligrams of bilberry standardized to 36% anthocyanidins and anthocyanins rather, and 25% anthocyanidins. So they're two long active ingredients separated by one word, anthocyanidins and anthocyanins. And I don't know of any other company that's putting these levels, certainly not 80 milligrams of that type of bilberry into their formula. It's almost $1,000 a kilo, so I don't think there's going to be too many people putting that full therapeutic amount in. And bilberry extract helps inhibit the breakdown of capillary walls by containing these anthocyanins and anthocyanidins that reinforce collagen structures in the retina. And as a result, it reduces or stops free radical damage in the area of the eye. Bilberry has also been found to be nutritionally helpful for cataracts, glaucoma, and diabetic neuropathy. Our bilberry's properties have been clinically demonstrated. Studies have showed improvement of contrast sensitivity and retinal health and visual acuity. They help with free radical damage associated with an accumulation to support healthy blood sugar levels. More than 50 positive studies, 50 different studies, including at least 25 controlled or double-blind studies, have validated the efficacy and vascular health of our bilberry extract. In one study, 88 people were given 510 milligrams for a year. That's a lot. And the results were remarkable improvement of contrast sensitivity and stability of visual acuity, leading to improved visual quality. Our bilberry has no side effects, just like all these ingredients. And it is a very tricky one to buy. Like with so many others, the price varies dramatically, and ours, as I mentioned, is the best in the world, and it's close to $1,000 a kilo. And by the way, it's derived from Scandinavian berries. That's important. And they are tested for 30% anthocyanins and 25% anthocyanidins. So that covers bilberry. Grapeseed extract, I know we don't have a lot of time, so we'll just fly through these last few ingredients. Most people are familiar with grapeseed extract. It's a powerful antioxidant. Our grapeseed extract is standardized for 95% OPCs, that's 95% proanthocyanidins by HPLC. It's used to support circulation of the eye and assist against macular degeneration. Grapeseed extract helps to enhance night vision and decrease light sensitivity. Next ingredient is quercetin. Quercetin is a bioflavonoid, protects the eye from sun radiation. It's also beneficial to the diabetic eye. Quercetin reduces the leakage from damaged small blood vessels in the retina. Next, we have zinc, which helps to promote a natural defense against macular degeneration. Taurine, which is an amino acid. It protects the cell of the eye. It helps protect the cells of the eye from UV damage. And that covers the formula. And one other note, if we're out there having eye issues, we definitely want to avoid alcohol, cigarette smoke, these are all common sense, sugar, and saturated fats and trans fats. And that covers ocular factors.
Well, the most powerful eye formula on the market, everything that you just mentioned right there was at therapeutic dosages.
Correct.
And
full optimum levels.
Yes, and on top of that, the astaxanthin at 4 milligrams, very, very interesting. A lot of hype on that antioxidant going right now, and it's justified hype too. It's scientifically proven, valid. A lot of people are taking it in, once again, different products, including krill oil, but they're not getting a therapeutic dosage. Here's a way to get a therapeutic dosage of it in an eye formula, and forget about buying the krill oil or any other product that has it. It's in there.
Right. And you can cobble together a system for yourself, and all you'd have to do is just get a bottle of the best bilberry, 80 milligram bilberry, the best bilberry available in the capsule form. Get a bottle of that. Get a bottle of the best natural lutein, 20 milligrams, and get all these different bottles, and you could put together something very close to ocular factors. And the problem is, obviously that would be inconvenient, but also the problem is these bottles range anywhere from $25 to $50. Mm-hmm. So even if you buy half a dozen of them, you're going to spend a lot more money than you would spend if you just got one bottle of ocular factors. And the same goes for all of our formulas. That's what people were doing. They were researching any issue that they had, and there might be 2, 3, 4, maybe half a dozen nutrients for that condition, and optimal levels are known. They go to the store and they buy a bottle of each, and they wind up with 6 different bottles, and they're covered for their prostate. Right? They buy a bottle of zinc, they buy a bottle of lycopene, a bottle of saw palmetto, and on and on. And so all of our formulas are designed to give people those full optimum levels without having to buy half a dozen bottles individually. There's one bottle, and it keeps things simple, and it keeps things economical, and the results are incredible. And the best story I've heard was from a really old guy who has trouble. Hey,
Lawrence, I had a customer call in before he came on the air and asked if you would address this question.
Sure.
Okay. She has friends that are listening right now that are taking eye formulas that they buy at drugstores and grocery stores, that kind of facility, right, that the eye doctor told them to take, and right, which contain things like polyethylene glycol and talc powder and FDC yellow, blues, and reds and carnauba wax and everything under the sun.
Right.
Would you explain the difference? Mm-hmm. Would you explain the difference? Yes.
I'm sorry, go on.
Would you explain the difference between those types of products and this one?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about it and I forgot. And I know we only have a few minutes left. This is important. When you talk to people, it's always the same story. Their doctor told them to take a product like Ocuvite, something, at a drugstore. Ocuvite is made by Bausch & Lomb, and they've got several different formulas. One of their formulas has a couple vitamins and minerals, which I didn't put vitamins and minerals in that formula because I encourage everybody to take a high-quality multivitamin, multi-mineral formula. So they should be getting vitamin C and vitamin E and minerals already. So putting a few vitamins and minerals into an eye formula, I think, is redundant. What have they done? They've put a little bit of fish oil, about half the amount you would get in a conventional, inexpensive omega-3 soft gel. And then they put in a little bit of lutein. I don't know if it's natural or synthetic. And the same with zeaxanthin. They'll put in 5 milligrams of lutein and 1 milligram of zeaxanthin. And that's it. That's the formula. And we put in 20 milligrams of lutein. It's natural. I don't know if theirs is. And ours is in a stable beadlet form. I don't know if theirs is. And we put in 4 times the amount. Same with zeaxanthin. We put in 4 milligrams of natural beadlet, which is the most stable form of natural zeaxanthin. We put in 4 milligrams, they put in 1. So the first thing I would ask myself is, if I have a serious problem with my eyes and the optimal level of lutein is 20 milligrams, do I want to take 5? And if the optimal level of zeaxanthin is 4, do I want to take 1? That's the first question I'd ask myself. So that's one of the formulas that Ocuvite makes. Then they make another one that's got a whole multivitamin in it. That one's looks just like a Centrum or a Theragram. It's got all the vitamins and minerals, and they put in a little more. They put in 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin. But they're not putting in, as far as I know, they're not putting in any natural beta-carotene. They're putting in vitamin A, but no natural beta-carotene, and they're not putting in any astaxanthin, which should come as no surprise considering how expensive astaxanthin is. So that's the second formula that Ocuvite makes. And then the third one actually has impressive amounts of lutein and zeaxanthin, a little bit more than ours. It's got 25 milligrams of lutein and 5 milligrams of zeaxanthin. I was impressed with the potency. I don't know anything about the ingredient selection, but then I went on to find there's literally nothing else in it. We have about 10 of the most important nutrients. They only put in those 2. And then, except they do put other things in it. Like you mentioned, they put in F, D, and C blue dye number 1. They put in red dye number 40. They put in titanium dioxide. They put things in there that if somebody were to offer it to you on a plate, you probably wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't want to eat it. I want these supplements in as pure a form as possible. So that's a comparison between what the doctors are telling the patients to use and what we offer. It's unfortunate, but most doctors aren't proactive enough to get this into the hands of people. It's just easier, just like the same thing you and I have been encountering forever. It's just a lot easier for these people, whether it's a doctor, a chiropractor, a health food store owner. It's just a lot easier for them just to tell people to get something that's popular. It just makes the whole thing smoother. You and I are doing the heavy lifting by trying to do this. And but the public that knows about us, they're benefiting. They're getting the highest quality nutrients. They're getting full optimal levels. They're getting all the levels, and they're getting it in a very economical form.
And these vitamins not only HPLC tested, nature's purest, but also non-irradiated.
Correct, and non-GMO.
Non-GMO, non-irradiated. Titanium dioxide, white pigment, right?
We don't use
paint
it.
Pigment. That's in these eye formulas that they're telling people to take. The white pigment that you see in house paint.
Yeah, I mean, why they would put dye in a nutritional supplement? Yeah, it is. I mean, the only thing I can think of is...
Our time is up, Lawrence.
Think about this. Let me just put something in quickly. Why would they put blue dye and red dye into an eye formula that has no bilberry and no astaxanthin? That's interesting, isn't it?
Very.
Bilberry is the blue pigment, so they put in blue dye, and astaxanthin is that deep red pigment. They didn't put that, and then they put in red dye. I'm not saying that's why would they put blue and red dye in a nutritional supplement? That's interesting that it's missing those two key pigments.
Well, thank you, Lawrence.
Okay, sorry. Okay. All right, it's a pleasure.
Lawrence of Nature's Purest, you're the best, man. Thank you.
So are you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Most excellent. Lawrence of Nature's Purest. Ocular Factors is the name of that product. It's the bomb. It's the strongest eye formula on the market, period. Well, God bless you. Be healthy, and you've been listening to Health Talk from Peggy's Whole Foods, home of largest everyday discounts in Florida. I'm just going to give one phone number today and keep on going, and that is Peggy's Whole Foods, International Speedway, Daytona Beach, 386-265-1510. It's 386-265-1510.